All right, so with no further ado, let's welcome you to creating a friendly math lesson on Google Form. I am Mr. Lim, Frederic Lim, and we're using a math lesson from 6th grade, mean, median, and mode. You can use any lesson, but I'll explain that a little bit further. Thanks to the nice TESOL for hosting us. If you want to join our group, we have a special this year for $20.20, and you have all these videos and a lot of information to help you teach your English language learners. All right, our agenda today is looking at the math Google Classroom and how to adapt instruction for ELLs. At the end, I'd like to invite you to share your experiences in your classroom on how these strategies worked for you. All right, a little bit about me. I'm a middle school teacher in Harlem, have been for 10 years at the same school. I like to co-plan and coach content teachers, not only in math, but all the subjects, on how to adapt their lessons for ELLs to be more successful. I'm part of the special interest group, bilingual dual language group with nice TESOL, and I'm interested in training teachers and applying these methods and measuring the impact that they have. And particularly by your example. I'm going to ask you later to, well, I can invite you now to our next meeting, which is next week. It's our showcase, where we'll show you how to share your lessons. All right, our learning target is applying the 4 holistic strategies that can be generally applied to all lessons, adapting instructions to your bilingual and BELLs and MELs and ELLs, because it has to do with language, actually. So we're going to take a look at that, set up your math classroom with one of many examples that you can use, and also create the Google form for your math class. And then I'm going to try to invite you to share your ELL-friendly math lesson later. Okay, we did a poll, and I can see that some people are saying that they're struggling with technology. Math teachers only teach Spanish, doesn't provide English support. Yep. Unsure how to support my ELL students with remote learning. Okay. All right, yeah, I appreciate all that. There's a survey at the end also that where we can refine some of these comments. Let's jump in. So the 4 ELL strategies basically are to differentiate instruction for your students. The first one is rigor. We need to keep it at the grade level, as you all know, but also keep it fun. The next is comprehensible input. That means the lessons that you're providing them and also the questions that you ask all come into the umbrella of, is this comprehensible for the ELL before they get into the calculation of the math? As much as possible, the third is develop all modalities, meaning speaking, writing, reading, and listening in your math lessons. Sometimes that's difficult, but we're trying to find different ways to do that, especially with online learning. What I like to get into is project-based learning from a distance. It's my new challenge. The fourth is using home language, if necessary, to lower that affective filter. Lowering that affective filter for students decreases that nervousness before they try out things in a new language. So that's really important too. So ease them into the language of English and the language of math using their home language, not as much as possible, as little as possible to get them into English, but use it as a way to differentiate them up. All right, so a little story about the math and how I got into this. Back in 2018, you know that there was a shift in ELL instruction because of the Every Student Succeeds Act. Everything's more integrated. At that time, I felt that there were only two choices for me. Either I go into the classroom instead of pulling students out and hover around them. I did that for maybe like a week and it didn't work for me. It just, it felt unprofessional. I was like a para or something. So I found that co-planning with the teacher is a lot better. Uh, as you collaborate with the math teacher, you can see that they have their specialty and then you as an L person have their specialty. Many of you are math teachers and have to think like an L person because maybe you don't have an L person near you or who you can collaborate with. So hopefully with these strategies of in this seminar and others that you might attend, you'll learn about language acquisition and have that more as a backdrop as you plan lessons. Okay, because really the L teacher refines and adapts the L strategies with that holistic eye that I told you about. And that holistic eye or lens would be first to check the rigor. A lot of the math teachers that I've worked with in the past often see an L as deficient in the language, but then they would give them lessons that were below their grade level, thinking that they can teach them that way. Yeah, some students are deficient in math, but you want to scaffold them up in both areas, the content and also the language. If they're already doing 6th grade math, then it'd be like a language issue to get them up. So you just have to focus on that language. And that's part of the comprehensible input that I'm going to show you today, including the modalities, like I said, the speaking, writing, reading and listening, and lowering that affective filter if you need to using their home language. So that's the trajectory on why I'm doing this webinar, and more specifically to help on the input and the comprehensibility of it. All right, this grid, I don't know if you know about this grid, but it's from Dr. Collier, who has disseminated this out. It's free on the internet. I have a link for you at the end. But you can see that there's a progression in terms of language. There's pre-production, which takes about 6 months in the US schools. Pre-production takes about a year, where students learn just listening skills, but then also they begin to utter like one-word things. They can carry out 2 or 3-step commands. As they move up this continuum, 1 or 2 years in the school, they have this increased comprehension. And then by the 2nd year or 3rd year, they have this good comprehension and meaning. Most of the L's are in this area, I found, where they have the most trouble in language because they're transitioning from like these one-word things into more complex thought. And when you get to 5th and 7th year, the comprehension tends to be generally a lot better. They know implied meaning and idiomatic expressions, figurative language. So I think this is a really good guide for a lot of teachers to know where their students are and what they're capable of doing. What you don't want to do is have a student here in speech emergent or intermediate and give them this stuff over here with implied meaning. You have to get them there slowly. Taking a closer look, the early production stage and the entering and emerging students, they are the students that teachers are most worried about most, because they can barely communicate with you and you can't with them. So one of the things I teach teachers is you have to be aware of the scenarios that you present them in math, because again, that scenario is blocking them to get to the math. So make the scenarios like in word problems familiar to them. For example, school settings, examples with what's going on in class, what's going on with among their peers that they know. Talk about basketball or soccer or any of these sports. Family situations like shopping, doing the laundry, eating. I I go a long way with pizza examples because they know what pizza is, ice cream, things like that. Avoid unknown scenarios. This is a very short list of words that I found last week that I cautioned the math teacher about not using. Like there was an example of a poet who was filing things. They don't necessarily know what a poet is, so don't use that. Use like Mike went to the basketball court and shot 3 hoops one day and then 6 the next day. Don't talk about like the bank teller unless you're specifically teaching them about the bank, you know, bank stuff, which is fine too. Don't put in words like real estate. They don't know what that is, or investment. There's so many of these that wouldn't fit on this page. So just be aware of the language that you're using for your questions. I know that sometimes math, the math team has these templates already made, so they just cut and paste these questions. Well, you have to think about how to reframe those questions, or maybe give the students like a glossary if you need to. I think the easiest way is just to rewrite the questions a little bit for them to wrap their head around the scenario first and then get into the math. All right, so let's dive in. You know the Google Classroom is there. What I suggest is to split your Google Classroom, well, not the classroom, but the actual lesson into 4 sections. The first being the learning target and the do now section here. And then the other subsequent sections would be the I do with answers, the we do with hints, the you do as an exit ticket. We're going to take a look at all these one by one. Let's look at the learning target section. How you create a section is down here. There's this little bar. I found out about this 3 weeks ago. If you press that, you get to create another section. All right, in section 1, you want to have the do now here with your learning target. The learning target could have a like a language objective with it. I usually put that in, and a language objective would be like, okay, you will be able to find the mean, median, mode from a data set and express it in a sentence. That would be the language objective. The expressing it in a sentence would be the language objective. And then I write the do now here, I make it required, and add a video here. So that would be more of a visual sense of what's going on. I've seen lessons like this where it's all words, and for ELLs they can't reach that. So an explanatory video, whether you find it on YouTube or you make it yourself, would be great. All right, in section 2, the I do is basically you teaching. You can have a video of yourself teaching, or you can make it as interactive as possible. Here's an explanation of what it is, and this is like a graphic of what your lesson is. I think it's good. There could be like better ones. We're in the middle of this unit, so we bunched them together as more of a review. For the L's, I would highlight mean means average, like one word mnemonic device that they could associate with the word mean. If they know what average is, they remember it better. Medium, like the middle number, so the word middle. And then mode is one that often occurs, so like most often. You might have to explain what that word means. In section 2, I think is like the most impactful because it's the part where you can change the Google form to make it more comprehensible for the ELLs. So like I said, the visual charts and videos and images can be embedded. And to make it like comprehensible and draw the eye toward certain words, you can capitalize and add a meaning, like mean, find the mean, or average, give them a little hint of this data set. To make the answers more discrete, you can add the numbers like this. Before I change this, the math teacher just put a line that says put a number in. One, that's really hard to grade because you can have people writing in the number. Like if it's 6, it's going to be SIX, or they're going to put the number 6. So the computer won't calculate it. And more often than not, it's going to be wrong just because they didn't write it in the form that you wanted them to, or that you think that they should have put it in. So to make the ambiguity like 0, just put choices like this. I would give them immediate feedback, like especially in the I do section, because you're not there to teach them. Write in the answer, like the answer is 7. So did you get that correct? Have them write it in, saying, okay, that's the answer, and you know that they got it correct. If it's no, then you can flag that later for like a repeat instruction, or you can have the question asked again. And the other thing here, some people don't know, to add a box is to press this little plus up here. All right, in section 3, for the independent practice, again, the concepts from the section 2 should be the same. You can change it a little bit, but very subtly. But don't put anything new in there because it's independent practice that they should be like basically copying what you did up here in section 2. I've seen math teachers try to stick in something different in here, which is unfair because it's not what you taught. So keep with the same type of scenarios, maybe change them a little bit. If it's not basketball, change it to soccer. If it's not pizza, then change it to ice cream. Yeah, I speak in pizza and ice cream. Or anything else that's related. Give them hints at this point, not the answers, like hints. Like right here, there's a video that they have to watch on mean, median, and mode, but the hint would be watch from 138 to 222. Even though it's like a 3-minute video, you don't want them to go through the whole like intro thing. Try to get them to the actual part that matters for the lesson and give them a hint. And again, give them discrete multiple choice answer choices. All right, and the exit ticket, the concepts from section 2 and 3 should be the same. There should be nothing new because it's an exit ticket. And subtle changes in scenario again. It should be graded, of course, and discrete multiple choice when you can. Otherwise, if you want to spend your time grading a written response, you can do that too. But I think it's a lot easier if you give them choices. And also repeat the question in each box. You notice that the exit ticket is up here, all this words, 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 with like, what does the mean? What is the mode? All these questions, separate those out. Otherwise, L's can get confused. I get confused. So it's just better to separate that out. All right, some bonus things in section 4. If you didn't know this, you can open it up and you can choose multiple choice up here, or like single single response, like a short response or a longer response. Check the correct answer here and toggle required, and then give feedback for answers. That's the next slide here. If you click on this answer key, then it opens it up to feedback for incorrect answers. I would write it all out so that when they submit the form, if it's wrong, they'll get feedback automatically and see what you wrote. And this is what they would see. It's an explanation of what you tried to teach them. Assign the points at this level, and then you're done. And that's basically it. I know it went super fast. But let's see if we reached all our targets. We applied the holistic strategies to adapt the instruction to make it more comprehensible. We set up the math classroom to coincide with this particular example. It's going to change a little bit, but the mechanics are still the same for the Google form. So at this point, I wanted to ask you what is still missing. So here's the form again. I'll set the timer this time for 3 minutes. And then you can go back to the Google form. Go back to the Padlet and see if you're going to reflect on what you just learned in a really fast way and see which parts of that you're gonna take with you. Which part do you think you need more explanation on? And we have like 15 minutes. I can stick around to help anyone with questions. There's still a couple more items I wanted to share with you. Just to wrap things up. I'm seeing people very interesting, especially how to add the correct answer. Okay. Found a new way to teach my ELL students. Great. Yeah, for bilingual students, I'm looking for ways to immediately translate this into another language, like Google Docs. I haven't found that yet. So I think at this point, you just have to create one with 2 languages, which is easier said than done, I know. Especially for those languages that they don't follow the Roman script or Roman letters. And if you have a multitude of languages in your classroom. All right, so to wrap up then, I want to again invite you to share what you already know about your teaching ELLs in math. That would be great to add to our collection of different ideas. Our vision as a subgroup, as a special interest group, is to put together resources on a Padlet form that people can access if they have questions related to a particular grade or subject. So if you have any resources, please share. There's an email there, and come to our showcase where you can get more details. The adaptation process is pretty complicated, but the more you do it, the more second nature it becomes. This chart comes from Teaching Matters. It's a pretty good site to get information about adapting ELL strategies for your students at different levels and different grades. I pulled this one from one of their presentations, and they have lots of links to other places that you can strengthen your knowledge on this topic. So all the things that we did here, adapt directions and adapt content, adapt student output, and finding resources, we pretty much covered, with more attention on the directions and content part. And also the student output with the discrete choices instead of just putting like a description of their answer. And these are references where you can download the research that went behind this presentation. All right. So if anyone has some questions, let me know. Stick around. The bad thing about these webinars is I can't get the feedback, the immediate feedback of people asking questions, or I can't look into your eyes to see if you have a question. So just—
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please chime in.
Okay, I have two questions. One, on your slide 30, you have a link there. Is that to your slides?
This link here?
Yeah.
This is to the, this is to the questionnaire.
Oh, and one question that I had is, how do you add the answer key section into the Google Forms? I was just in Google Forms and I can't seem to find it. Is there a way that you could kind of show us real quick how to add
Sure.
the answer part?
Yeah. I'm actually trying to find the chat thing first so I can send people this link. Of course, not a lot of people, including me, like to fill out questionnaires.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't find it. So your comments on the Padlet is helping me. Okay, can you rephrase your question again?
Sure. I was struggling to find where you can add in the answer key portion in Google Forms. Is there a way you could open up Google Forms real quick and show me where we would find that?
Yeah,
And
sure.
also, I'm in the chat and I noticed someone was asking if you were sharing the slides because they were really informational. So that was the only other question that I can kind of see right now.
Oh yeah. If I can get to that, if I can get to the chat, I can share with you. How am I going to do that? Well, I have the list of the participants who came. So if you're on that list, then I can share with you.
Okay, great.
The
Thank
slides.
you.
Oops, I'm sorry. So here's the 6th grade math. All right, this is just random here. I should do one that they're not going to look at today.
Yeah, whatever you can show us is helpful.
Yeah. All right, so this is how you edit. All right, so you wanted to know the answer?
Yeah, how do you add that answer portion into Google Forms?
You click it. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so here's question number 2. There's nothing here. You just click this white space and it'll open up. And then here's the answer key. And here it is. I didn't write this in, the math teacher did, but this is how you check which is the right answer. See? So 5 is the right answer for this question. And you can write in the answer with this edit. You edit it. Right? And save. So for correct answers, you didn't put a feedback, but for incorrect answers, you can.
Great, thank you.
All right.
For that.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm still looking for that chat box. Don't know why, not there.
I've never used Zoom, but on your screen, is there a window at the bottom, like a bar at the bottom that has information? Because at the bottom of bars, there's a spot that says chat that you can click on.
Yeah, but every time I move the cursor around, it moves something else. So I don't see that right now. It was there before when I started, but the moment that I shared everything, that disappeared, it cleared away. I see participants here and new share. It used to be here in this section. Great, thank you. There it is. It's it was on like the more, so I found it. So fantastic. Who knew? Can you put the link in the chat for slide 31? Is that you? Yeah. So
yeah, that was me, but it was just because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if that was your slides or if that was something else. So
yeah, it's a survey. So if you want to help educators around the world, please fill out the form. Fill out survey. And then I can get the presentation out to people. All right. Okay, thanks. Yes. Is the answer portion only when you set it up as a quiz? No. Juan Perez, if you're still here, is the answer portion only when you set up the quiz? No. It's whatever box you set up. If you ask the answer, if you ask a question, then if there's an answer given, then it's part of it. So it's not, it can be part of the instruction and it can also be part of your quiz. Great, I think that's all. If anybody else wants to contact me directly, my email is here, and you can certainly do that. Down here, mr.enlpro@gmail.com. And that would be it. Hopefully you guys can come next week, same time, different channel, but same time, to our showcase on NICE TESOL for the dual language and the special interest group on ELLs. Rosa just joined, kind of missed everything, but hopefully she get the presentation. All right, that's all I have to say. I know you're really busy, so we can leave, but I'll stick around to keep it open in case anyone else has that last minute question.
Excuse me, my name is Pam. I do have a question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead, Pam.
This is maybe a crazy question, but I am very bad at math and I shy away from teaching using math. what do you recommend for somebody like me to, I'm not talking about Google Forms or anything. I don't know. What do you have any recommendations for someone who is not really good at math but may have to try to teach math language?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a colleague like that. What she recommended to me, or what she commented once, was that you have to just be like a couple of lessons ahead of the class. So
Right.
you don't have to take the whole, like a math degree. Just be a
Right.
couple of lessons ahead. If you have a math coach, that would be the best person to ask, like, what's coming up ahead? What should I really know?
Okay.
And yeah, watch some videos. There's a lot of like quick little videos you can get on certain topics, very specific topics and very specific
Right.
grades that you can watch, like even a week before, as
Okay.
a way to help you to plan.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Anything specific, like any site to go to, or just look at Google something?
The best way is to Google things right now. Yeah, let me create a resource for that. So
Okay. Thank you.
sites for math for ELLs, and maybe reluctant teachers of math.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you going to put the site here right now, or are you going to say it later?
I'm gonna have to like do the best research, because I can quickly do one now, but I don't.
Oh, sure.
It won't be vetted.
Yeah. Don't worry when you can. If I can.
Sure. And you're Pam. I'll look for your email.
I'll put my email here so you can have it. Maybe I'll put it right now.
So Danette Green said Khan Academy is good. So
Oh, okay.
they'll be on my list.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just gave him my email. Thank you.
Sure, appreciate that. Was it on the chat, or you emailed it to me?
I just put it on the chat.
Oh, I don't.
Does that help?
It didn't come up. So the last person I see is
Oh, I'm sorry. I went to somebody else. One second. Privately.
the private. Yeah.
Okay. 1 minute.
Yeah, math is a curious thing. You have to have some kind of background knowledge
Don't worry.
and be interested in teaching math.
Okay. Here it is now.
Cool, I got it. Thank you, Pam. And depending on the resources that you go and look at, some are going to jive with you more than others. So go to a few and then figure out which one you like the best in terms of what they provide you and the instructor, things like that. But yeah, thanks for that great idea. I'll put a list together. Anyone else? It's officially like time to stop. So if there's no one else.
Oh, sorry. Did you see my email now?
Yeah, at Mount Vernon.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot. Well, thank you again. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And good luck, and hope to hear from you. Hope to hear from your strategies.